All right, well, I'm here today with Bobby Abdullah. Bobby is the founder of Lobster Money. They're on mission to create the financial infrastructure for creators. He's based out of Berlin, and we actually have worked together in the past where Bobby was head of IT and governance projects for Gorillas. But Bobby, I wanted to have you come on today, first of all, because you're a really interesting guy, you're really thoughtful, but also because there's been some recent changes within the SaaS management landscape. Gartner just released their Magic Quadrant. And in light of that, you're someone who has better context on SaaS management platforms. You've dealt with them and worked with them in the past at some previous companies. So I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, but some of the trends that you've seen with both SaaS management, but with IT more broadly.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on board, John. Yeah, a bit about me. Bulgarian by nature, based off Berlin, worked for several different startups, with most recently crossed over with Torii and yourself and the rest of the team in Gorillas, where I led special projects and governance within the IT department. Yeah, I would like to think I was an early adopter of SaaS management platforms. It was a very interesting time. When I stumbled upon it was probably somewhere around mid 2020. At that time, I worked for a health tech company in the growth stage, also based out of Berlin. And I was really on the IT support side of the operation. So level one, level two types of tickets. And the first process of automation for us was actually we use Zapier for a lot of license provisioning and information transfer. And I think that was like the click for me and at that time my manager to look into further like tools and process that we can utilize when it comes to automating a lot of these repetitive and mundane tasks. And that's how we came into Torii and a lot of your other players in the space. And I think that was around end of 2020 when we started discussing adopting this type of technology. Ended up adopting it specifically for shadow IT and really finding out what are our employees and colleagues using on a day-to-day basis that we don't have an overview over, and realize the power of that. I think over the period of when I joined Gorillas during 2021 through 2020, end of 2022, that really showed its true power. It was Corona, money was cheap, and scaling for growth was the top priority. So with that, we knew that we were hiring at a very, very fast pace. I was the first full-time IT hire there at like number 150 or 200 in HQ, and we scaled to a total of 15,000 employees in a year and a half, maybe. So that was a very interesting period that required the right infrastructure to grow. And that's what I knew from that point, that we needed SaaS management way before the scale really hit us. It's what saved us over time when it came to costs and resources. So that's what really got me into SaaS management. I understood the absolute positive implications it brings to a business. And over that period, after I moved away from my IT life, I'm still very, I dip my fingers in different pies, but I'm more into the entrepreneurship side of things nowadays. I've realized that it's evolved. And the way it's evolved is everyone's taking a different bet on where they sit in the value chain. So you would see a lot of consolidations in the space where there's SaaS management aspect to a specific platform, but maybe they've paired with mobile device management or device issuing and leasing, or as far as outsourcing combined with AI. With the AI boom, I think that's what really not destabilized, but changed the playing field for SaaS management. I think it's slowed down pure SaaS management as a market as more and more AI integrated solutions emerged for very niche projects or products, I should say, and problems. So only the top players of SaaS management would be able to stick around, either consolidate with bigger players and sit on the shoulders of giants, as one would say, or continue innovating and adding on top of their current tech stack to really drill down on problems that, different companies may have, big or small.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I know we were talking a little bit previously about the role of data. And I think that comes up a lot, especially with SaaS management platforms, because every organization is full of data, but it's about the aggregation, the uncovering, the centralization, the normalization of all the izations of data. And we found that that's one of the really valuable things that an SMP platform can offer, is that place where all that data can actually be housed, specifically related to SaaS. But you're kind of talking about with this AI and how we've had these issues with adoption. And it's definitely something we've seen where some early estimates, we were expecting this massive growth, but it's just now here in 2024 that we're getting this magic quadrant. Why do you think there was that slowdown? Why has it kind of taken this much time to get to this point?
I think it's a combination of things, right? And I'm no economist or AI engineer by any means either, so take everything with a grain of salt. But I would definitely say it's one, the lack of funding after the bubble burst created a very big budget restriction just globally. A lot of large enterprises had layoffs, startups took down round valuations, right? And some went bankrupt, which caused everyone to hold their cash, right? And gave themselves time to recover as a business before they can go out and spend again, and only prioritize the most important expenditures. And as more and more money accumulated back into the market, the AI boom came around.
Mhm.
AI has been around for a very long time, but I think now, it's the trendy thing. Every second product out there is at least integrated to AI, understandably so. I think that just threw a whole new wrench into the system, right? Like it flipped the whole market upside down because now people had to not only follow the trend and implement this new technology, but they have to do it in a useful manner. You can't just implement AI and say, yeah, it works now, right? No, you have to really implement it where it provides direct value. And I think that's why it slowed down because one, the budget constraints over some years ago, and now with this implementation of this technology and the severe growth of it, it caused a lot of companies to rethink their business model or rethink their main product proposition. I think the data aspect of SaaS management is always valuable. What I find interesting is who finds what value in it, right? So some SaaS management platforms like Torii would also focus on a bit on the finance aspect, right? You would also have the little things of counting how many times a workflow has been executed successfully. That was actually personally my favorite data, was the workflow part, because I got to report internally on, hey, because of this platform, we saved X hours in agent time or in IT employee time, which in retrospect is this much savings. Hence, the ROI on this platform is very easy to deduce. Everything else that we benefited off of, from discovery to security to finance, having a nice little monthly expense report automatically sent, and the automated communications was just like a bonus on top because we already saw ROI on that piece. I think that is going to stay, but it's going to be magnified by utilizing AI technology. And the ones that hold the most data or have a lot of data to skim through and really understand will benefit from it.
Yeah, I think you keyed in on something there that's really important. And I know it's something that you've been talking about for years, and that's about communication of the value of something. So being able to actually demonstrate that ROI. And I think for a long time, there's with conventional software buying, a lot of times people don't adopt a new tool because they don't want to stick their neck out and advocate for a tool without a clear way of being able to demonstrate value on the other side. Even if they know intellectually, they'll say, I know that this is valuable. I know this is critical. Why do you think for a lot of IT professionals, there's that struggle? Maybe it's about, whether they have the instinct to try to prove ROI or it's a lack of confidence. Where do you think that breakdown occurs?
It could be a lack of confidence. For me, it wasn't confidence as much as, I wouldn't even say politics. It's more understanding your key, the person you're pitching this to. Because when I wanted to bring Torii into Gorillas, I didn't have one stakeholder. I maybe had like around six. You had a C-level executive, you have the finance, you had IT, ops, HR, and a few others. And what I made sure was I found the data that they cared most about. Finance would care about money, right? So how much money are we spending and why are we saving it? IT might care about resources and focusing on different projects. So what I really doubled down on was segregating data to the right person I'm pitching to. And usually that would end up in, whether like a resounding answer. It doesn't have to be a yes. It could be a yes or a no, but you really get them to understand your point and they give you a solid answer rather than let's revisit in X amount of weeks, months, or a year, etc. Right?
Yeah.
So that is something that I think is very important to look at. But also, maybe this is my bias speaking, I think SaaS management platforms are one of the few types of software products that is very easy to actually communicate a value behind. It's also very easy to see the lack of value. So I wouldn't recommend a SaaS management platform to a 10-person startup, for example, right? It just doesn't make sense. But if you see hyper growth, if you see management of cost, if you see all these different things being an issue, then yeah, slowly look into adopting it. So I would say it's a very easier pitch than, I don't know, for me, than pitching a project management tool to replace the current one.
Definitely. And I think kind of what you're talking about there, that's the blessing and the curse that we found with SaaS management, where if you look at old industry reports or market guides that kind of talked about what a SaaS management platform should do, it's really a couple of core things. It was around like governance, some visibility stuff. And now if you look at like the latest Gartner research, the number of things has absolutely exploded.
Yeah, there's so many different takes on SaaS management. I think one thing that, or two things that stuck to most products is shadow IT discovery, right? Like discovery of apps that you wouldn't otherwise know, and just an overview of license management. I think those two things have been key throughout the market, but everything else is shifted all the time. Some take care of MDM and leasing, as I mentioned. Some take care of a very different part of the product, which could be outsourcing IT powered by AI, and you also get to manage your licenses on top of that. So I think that does create some confusion in the market for sure. For startups, or not startups, for any company looking to employ that type of tool in the near or foreseeable future, I'd say find your top two problems that most of SaaS management platforms can solve, and then drill down onto just those problems that those different companies can provide you a solution of, rather than looking at the whole market space. I think it's oversaturated right now, and not in a negative way, but rather it's just people trying to take market share. And we also have seen some successful and also unsuccessful consolidations of these types of companies, which I think is a very good signal actually for the market. It shows that, okay, we don't need that many players, but some of them that are doing it very well are getting eaten up by a total different value proposition, but they want to be integrating this part of like I would say value to their product. So this SaaS management overview. I think, I don't know if I should name it, if I should name someone, but Deal, for example, acquired a company, right? And I think, what do they have to do with IT per se? But it really fits well within their product stack.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to kind of shift here and talk more about your personal journey. Like I said, you're a thoughtful guy. You were doing IT, and then you decided to move on, pursue these entrepreneurial pursuits. What kind of brought you to that place? Why'd you make that decision?
Great question. Over the period of me working for different startups, from your Series Bs to your pre-seeds to your late Series Cs and Ds, I realized that to a certain degree, everyone doesn't know what they're doing. And I thought there was a magic behind that. I had my own problem that I faced over time of moving several countries, which was financial footprint does not translate from one country to another. And I decided to solve that problem. I think also IT on the operational aspect, because that was something I really focused on, was the project and then the operational aspect. I'm not gonna lie, I saw it diminish over time. Not in terms of jobs per se, although that could happen, more on the efficiency side of things. So if you're not utilizing the right tools, you're not as efficient. And eventually in the future, what I could predict is one person can now manage two people's jobs when it comes to, let's say, L1 and L2 support because of the technology available. So I took all my great learnings in IT and everything I know, and now I try to apply that onto my own ventures.
Well, if you're talking to other people, maybe you're talking to someone else, they're in IT, they're not sure if they want to continue with it. What would you say to them? Or what would you ask them?
Are you getting challenged? That was the question I asked myself all the time at some point, is, are you getting challenged in a good way? Are you enjoying the time of getting challenged by different processes, projects, whatever problems that you face on your day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year career? If so, I would say absolutely continue, but always make sure to stay on top of the game when it comes to keeping up with technology, keeping up with new tools and processes, because I think the one industry that's so outdated, at least in the space that I try to work around, is I feel like IT, because it's so decentralized. And recently we've seen so much innovation in the space, right? With SaaS management in the last 5 years, it's been insane, but it's not globalized to a level yet. So the ones that truly want to stay in the line of IT, I think, should also be aware of all trends that are upcoming and employ those, be early adopters. That's what I think, because it doesn't hurt to be an early adopter.
And being an early adopter, part of that comes with, there's a necessity for a level of excitement about the space, right? So there's that balance. You want to be challenged by the work. You want to be challenged by what's happening and find some level of joy, but you also want to have excitement about what else is happening in the industry.
Absolutely. Look, by nature, I'm a lazy person. And the last thing I want to, no, I'm not going to lie. The last thing I want to do is solve the same type of ticket 10 times in a row. So that's the reason I went into Zapier as my very start. I was like, okay, I can make a flow that automatically gives away this license for sure. And then SaaS management came, and I was like, great, we can just eradicate 30% of the most repetitive tasks that we have in our day-to-day operations. So that was my real motivator, because the more you release in terms of repetitive, mundane tasks from your team and yourself, the more you get to focus on the cool stuff, on the cool projects, on the large scale things that really provide proper impact, rather than keeping the boat afloat.
Yeah, I love that. Being the strategic lazy guy, and lazy not being the one without initiative, but lazy meaning the guy who's looking for how he can get more done with less effort. So that's efficiency, right? At the end of the day. And you just got to figure out, how do you keep getting that guy, make sure that individual, that guy, that gal, whoever it is, that they are continuously challenged towards new, just stick them on something else and be like, okay, make this more efficient now.
Definitely. I think that's why I also have a bias towards startups, to be honest, because you get to wear many caps.
Get to figure out which problem you want to tackle at any given moment.
Definitely.
There's so much there, Bobby. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes. Really appreciate your time. Is there anything else, if anyone's interested in Lobster Money, where they can learn more about you and your projects?
Well, firstly, John, thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. And yes, if you're interested, lobstermoney.com. I'm not going to plug anymore. I think that's more than enough. If you're interested, you'll see the website. Everything is linked there. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
You too.